Big Rab Show Podcast is kindly sponsored by G1 Reeds. They are the champion's choice, with many bands around the world playing G1 products, providing everything you'd need to hit the circle or the big stage. So, check out g1reeds.com as they keep the lights on here at the Big Rab Show Podcast.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Big Rab Show podcast. How are you, folks? Hope you're all keeping well out there in podcast land. And yeah, I know a lot of you have been looking forward to this episode since we kind of mentioned it on Fuse a few weeks ago, and then we mentioned it again last week on the pod that we're going to be talking about, well, how do you keep a band on the grass? I don't know. It's a huge challenge, and we're about to get into it in this week's topic of the week. So, yeah, good luck, everybody. But before we get there, let's get through our introductions, though, shall we? If this is your first ever Big Rab Show podcast, well, you are welcome. We are the show for the bagpiping folk. We reflect everything in the bagpiping world, be it Celtic music, folk music, or indeed our bread and butter, which is competitive piping and drumming. Each and every week, we're here talking about what we know and love to be the music of the great Highland bagpipe and its people. And yes, that old cliche. Every other podcast you listen to, I'm sure, yeah, we all have Patreon accounts. And this show is no different. There's a link in your show notes right now where you can go and check us out on Patreon. And if you do want to, you don't have to, of course, but if you want to, you can click on support and be part of the Patreon faithful. They are absolutely awesome, by the way. Thank you to all of our Patreon faithful. It's been a good number of you actually sign up there recently in recent days. So thank you, everyone who has clicked on support. Your support really does mean the world to us. And as a result of clicking support, you do get your mitts on loads of extras. Of course, you get our weekly Fuse FM Ballymoney radio show. Last night's show actually was a great one. It was all sorts of great crack. It went completely off the rails. I didn't get a chance to talk about anything I wanted to talk about. But yeah, we went down many different rabbit holes last night, playing tons of great music. You can go back and listen to all of that over there on Patreon. Plus, our documentary series that has seen the light of day, exclusive to Patreon subscribers. Yeah, that's over there. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, episode 1 of kind of behind the scenes at the Big Rab Show, yeah, is now live over there for Patreon subscribers. So there's all our interviews, performances, lots of behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. Yeah, episodes of Rab Show Plus, we haven't done one in a while, so maybe we should get on that. But yeah, shout out to the Patreon faithful. You guys are awesome. Indeed. Right, that's the Patreon plugged. With each and every Big Rab Show, we do open the door to listener mail, and this week is no different. This week, just to remind you of the email address, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Right. We did get some listener mail, of course. After last week's news with all things Glasgow Sky, you can imagine our mailbox was kind of rammed with all sorts of stuff following the news. A lot of it we can't broadcast, okay? I'm going to say that. I did bring my beat machine with me today, but yeah, it's just a lot of it I cannot put out there. Yeah, but thank you to everyone that had a lot of commentary on it. There is, yeah, a lot of it. And for those of you interested, there's been a lot of that happening over on social media. I'm sure you mentioned it last week. Well, you heard us mention it about the keyboard warriors out there that have been going ding dust on socials. There's a lot of it. And you can go and have a read at all of that at your leisure and talk about all of that, of course. But we're not going to get into it in listener mail. There's a lot of it we just can't broadcast. But thank you to everyone who has emailed us in your thoughts and opinions. They have been noted. So, yeah, a good number of you actually did send in some weekly drones as well. And we will get into that as well later on. But first of all, we got an email here from Bill. He says, "Hi, Big Rab. Just wanted to let you know the 70th Fraser Highlanders are hosting an open practice on Saturday, April 28th. There you go. I think we mentioned this in a previous show, but yeah, it does no harm to remind you of it. The practice will be at the Lions Club Community Centre in Milton in Ontario and will open doors at 2 p.m. Everyone is invited to attend and experience a grade 1 practice session while enjoying some refreshments. Apparently, Yeah, he goes on and says, I hear donuts will definitely be there too. Nice. There you go. So thank you for that email there. Appreciate that. So 70th holding an open practice. You also got another email here to say, hey, Rab, here's a super cool event hosted by the PPBSO Niagara Hamilton branch. It's not easy to say in the podcast. See details below. All right, let's get a look at this. It's called Fortune Favors the Piper. Yes, this is being held this weekend, actually, March 14th at the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Hamilton, in Ontario. All starts at 6:30 p.m. and they've got 9 pipers competing. And what makes this event quite interesting is that each one of the pipers get to play a selection of their own tunes, but with a little bit of a twist. Yeah, a wheel is spun prior to their set, and whatever the wheel lands on, well, the competitors have to include that tune in their set. Oh, that's a good one. Kind of reminds me of the Silver Chandler event. But they pick musical genre rather than an actual specific piece. So that's a challenge right there. Yeah. Goes on to say, this is a crowd-judged event, so everyone can get involved and vote for their favourite piper. There will also be a performance from Ontario Youth Pipe Band to kick off the evening. Brilliant. Tickets are $15, and that's just the cover charge. And you'll also get light appetizers on the night as well. There you are. So thanks for sending that in. I love that title of the event, by the way. Fortune Favors the Piper. Quite a grand title. There you are. So that's the PBBSO Niagara Hamilton branch is hosting that. Exciting stuff. There you go. So, yeah, that's it pretty much for listener mail. Everything else was all about the Glasgow Sky situation. And as I've said, there's quite a number there that we just can't broadcast, folks. So, yeah, I don't know. Finger pointing and all of that. He said, she said stuff. We're not about to get into all of that here in the show. We're about to get into Weekly Drone, though, so there might be more of it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, at this point in the show, we do open the door to Weekly Drone, but just wanted to remind you again of our email address. If you do want to email us in about this show or any other show for that matter that you might have listened to, email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Also, oh yeah, I have to mention this as well, by the way, our Meet the Band series. We had quite a number of bands following last week's episode actually contact us and ask to be a part of Meet the Band. So we're in the process of lining up those interviews, and they will be broadcast at a later date. So yeah, if your band does want to be a part of a future episode of Meet the Band, then please do get in contact with us. We're in the process of organizing those recordings. So yeah, perhaps get them lined up before the season kicks off and everyone gets crazy busy. So do email us, bigrabshow@gmail.com, Meet the Band. Yeah, and your band could be a part of a future show. There you go. All right, Weekly Drone time. As you can imagine, this is quite a controversial topic. And we've got quite a number of weekly drones as a result. A lot of people with thoughts, feelings, and commentary on the Glasgow Sky situation who did not want to be identified. And Weekly Drone is where you can go and do it. You can go to our website, thebigrabshow.com, that big red button at the top of the page saying Weekly Drone. You can let us know your thoughts and feelings without fear of recrimination. So, JD, let's get into these, buddy. I think we've got a few of these.
Weekly Drone.
Min and max numbers. After the Glasgow Sky announcement and the upcoming RSPBA AGM, the discussion around numbers is definitely rife. You ask the question, is now the right time to have this discussion? If not now, then when? History repeatedly shows us the best time to do something was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. If we just wait for the right time, it's never going to arrive. Time to just rip off that Band-Aid.
Yeah. Weekly Droner, you raise a fair point. And you're not the only person that raised that point, I guess. Yeah, I did mention it last week about how this could be poor timing by our RSPBA headquarters to start talking about a potential number cap. Now, yeah, that's all happening this weekend, folks. The annual general meeting is taking place on Saturday, and this is up for discussion. And it's a fair point you raise, Weekly Droner. I will take my lumps on that one. You know, if not now, then when? You know, absolutely. So let's have the discussion. Let's thrash it all out in a boardroom and figure out whether this is a good idea or a bad one. Because thrashing it out here in a podcast that we've been doing for years now. We still haven't reached a conclusion. So let's see what the bands want. Let's see what the top brass think of the ideas. Will it actually pass? Will it go through? Who knows? But it's a fair point. Let's actually have the discussion. Let's bring it to an AGM and see what happens. So, yeah, I'll take your point. It is the topic around most dinner tables now. Everyone's talking about a potential number cap could be of benefit to a lot of bands and the scene in general. So, I don't know, folks. I've thrashed this out so many times on the show, and each time I get a different conclusion. I speak about it now, and I think, there's too many negatives to having a number cap. And then there's the complete opposite. There's a lot of positives to have a number cap as well, man, I just don't know. Anyway, let's fly on. It's not my job to know, I guess. That's for you folk out there in the pipe banding world to vote through what you believe is correct. And then, hey, who knows what this weekend will bring at the AGM. We could see some big rule changes coming in that'll have huge repercussions for the scene going forward, hopefully for the better. JD, give me another one. Come on, mate. Another weekly drone.
The weekly drone.
Silver lining in the sky. Glasgow Sky just announced they are taking the year off to replace their leadership since their pipe major and drum sergeant stepped down. Meanwhile, back at HQ, they are talking about number caps. Does anyone else think now would be the time for some of these top flight bands to let one of their own go and formally assist with bringing the Sky back up to grade 1 like they want? Seriously, we can have another Inverary success story here, and we need not focus on the sadness. I see this as a perfect opportunity to pick up where things have been left off. Let's move on and look up to the sky. Cheers.
Yeah. Weekly Droner, you kind of just said what I was thinking there. Every cloud has a silver lining. And yeah, this number cap could potentially provide opportunities which may not have existed before. You're quite right in saying so. Yeah. Now, will we see this actually happen, though? Remains to be seen. Will we see one of our top flight players not make it into the circle because of a number cap issue in the band that they're playing in? And then will they take that opportunity and say, okay, well, I can't go into the circle with the band that I want to play with. Potentially, I should return back to my own home band that are maybe competing in grade 3B, 3A, or whatever. And then, yeah, have that Inverary success story, climb through the ranks and up to the top flight and then lift spiky. You never know. This could be, what do you call that movie? The butterfly effect. One decision can have huge repercussions further down the line here. Someone deciding, all right, okay, I can't play that weekend because of the number cap. Instead, I'm going to, compete with insert band name here. And then before you know it, that band becomes world champion. You just don't know. So will this be providing an opportunity elsewhere now? Don't know. But I love your optimism, Weekly Droner, and I'm with you on that one. All right. JD, give us another one, mate.
The weekly drone.
Bye-bye Sky. Rab and team, yet another band pulling the plug. Seriously, what the heck is going on? I'm sure I'm like you most of your listeners when I say I'm absolutely heartbroken. Years of hard graft, and just as the wheel starts to turn, bang! Awful, awful, awful news. Is this the current state of the scene? Yet another iconic band standing outside the circle this season.
Oh dear, Weekly Droner, you took in a totally different direction. Whereas the droner, before you seen the silver lining, you're just seeing the total opposite here. Yeah, I get it. It is the end of an era for Glasgow Sky, and it is heartbreaking for all of those folk involved. We did mention that on the show. We were talking about this last week, about think of the sheer amount of work that went in behind the scenes to make that possible. You know, stepping into that circle and lifting the champion of champions and lifting the worlds in grade 2, that's not a small feat by any means. It was an ultra competitive season by the Mighty Sky all of last year. And I think that's why this just is so bitter. It's so difficult to take, you know? Bands obviously have to step back from the circle all the time. But when you see that this band has been so successful and then having to reluctantly step back, heartbreaking. It is. And is this a state of things for things to come? I don't know. I guess that's what we're going to get into in this week's topic of the week. Just what does it take to keep a band in the circle? Yeah, from what we're finding, no one story is the same, but they do have some similarities, and that's what we're going to get into in this week's topic. What are those similarities? What are those aspects that are going to keep a band away from the competition circle? It's a difficult egg to crack, that one. JD, that was an altogether negative one. Please tell me the next one's a bit more cheery. Come on, mate, cheer me up.
The Weekly Drone.
More to the story. Rab, come on, man. There has to be more to this story when it comes to why Donald decided to resign from the Sky. Perhaps we'll never know what the real reason is, but leaving it open to speculation helps no one. Such a poorly timed decision on his part, resulting in the demise of an amazing group of talented people. I hope this doesn't put them off and we'll see them back in the circle soon. Donald, poor show, lad. Poor show.
Weekly Droner, that's kind of a downer as well. Oh my goodness. Yes, I don't think we'll ever hear precisely 100% of the story as to why Donald made that decision to step away. And I'm sure he knew himself that at this point in the season, to pull the plug like that would have been to the detriment of the band for sure. And that's bound to have been a consideration when he was looking at all of this. You know, it's bound to have been an incredibly difficult decision to make. And I'm sure it wasn't one that he made lightly either. So as to what the full story is there, we will never know, probably. And the speculation, you're quite right in saying so. And I mentioned there at the start of the show about the keyboard warriors that are just all over this on social media. There's so many different versions of the story as to why this happened. And yeah, my advice, folks, is just don't believe any of the nonsense that's out there. You know, there's so much gossip and rumor and, as I've said, speculation. And it's hard to know exactly what exactly the truth is. And the truth will come from either the band themselves or from Donald himself, if ever a public statement ever does get made on this situation. But for now, it's silent. And yeah, we move on. You know, like our weekly donor said earlier, every cloud has a silver lining. And I do believe that this could well have a good ending to the story. Yes, right now we're kind of dealing with the demise of quite a grade 2 big gun, and it's just really difficult to swallow. And yeah, I know a lot of people listening right now have been personally affected by all of this. I do know a lot of the Glasgow Sky listen to the show. So yeah, it's heartbreaking for everyone involved, honestly. And for me as a fan of the Mighty Sky, to know that I'm not going to see them this season is, yeah, that's not cool. Not cool. So, yeah, what does the future hold? Who knows? Will we ever hear what actually happens? Again, don't know. But that's a conversation for another day, I guess. Weekly Droner, and to all of you weekly droners, thank you for sending them in, your thoughts and feelings, warts and all. There was 2 weekly drones that we received that we couldn't broadcast, because that was name-calling, finger-pointing, and all sorts of crazy accusations, and we just don't broadcast that. Yeah. So, we don't. But of course, if you do want to send me in your thoughts and opinions on all things, not just the Glasgow Sky situation, but also thoughts on the number cap, the AGM this upcoming weekend, what do you expect to see coming out of that meeting, all of that stuff. You can email us in bigrabshow@gmail.com, or you can send us in your own weekly drone. Go to our website, thebigrabshow.com, that big red button at the top of the page. You can let us know your thoughts and feelings, and we'll bring them all to a future show. There you go. So, yes, the conversation has been quite heavily dominated with all things Glasgow Sky. So, yeah, we did mention this last week that this was really quite huge news. Yeah. But as you might have heard on Fuse FM last night, we were talking about other bands that have had to stood by the wayside, like Klaus Kelt and John Stone. And there's been others over the seasons, you know. There's been other bands that have been in the circle and have thumped some big tunes and have now absolutely disappeared into the ether. And, yeah, we spoke all about that in Fuse last night. That was a lot of fun, and a lot of that conversation will help influence what I'm going to be talking about in this week's topic. But before we get there, we're going to get into all the news and updates. And even before we get there, I'm going to take myself a wee break, but I'll be right back with all of those news and updates. See you in a bit. Ever wish you had a piping teacher on call 24/7? Well, now you do. Introducing the Interactive Player, a game-changing new practice tool at Dojo University. Play along with world champion pipers while the notes on your sheet music light up in time. Loop tricky phrases, slow down tough sections, zoom in to focus, and build speed automatically. It's like having a teacher right in your practice room, showing you how to master every tune at your own pace. So, sign up for a free trial today at pipersdojo.com and start learning smarter with Dojo U's Interactive Player.
Ready to take your playing to the next level? Say hello to the ES Session Chanter, the ultimate practice chanter designed for versatility and durability. Crafted from stainless steel and aluminium, the chanter comes equipped for both an A stem and a B flat stem, giving you the freedom to play along with any instrument, anytime, anywhere. Whether at a band practice or a trad session, the ES Session Chanter keeps pace with your creativity. Included with the chanter is the custom carbon carry case, the perfect addition to this compact and tactile instrument. To get yours, head to essessionchanter.co.uk.
Yes, time for all the news and updates. And shout out to our sponsors. Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, let's get into the news. Now, of course, the lead story that we have to lead out with this week is, well, the action that happened this past weekend at the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Championships. Yeah. Sunday, March 8th, seen what was possibly one of the biggest Scottish Schools Championships in a long time. If anything, we've been doing a bit of research on this, and yeah, we think it was the largest ever. Now, is that stuff that Rab got wrong?
Stuff that Rab got wrong.
I don't know. I really hope not. But apparently, this was a record breaker. 172 schools from all across Scotland gathered in Kilmarnock for what was a massive competition. Now, there's been a wealth of all sorts of news and updates, photographs, video clips. Social media have just been awash with this competition, and for good reason. Can I say the wealth of talent that is coming through the Scottish school system at the moment is just fantastic. Yeah, and so full credit to all of those hardworking tutors, and of course to all of those students as well, and who honestly playing some massive tunes at such a young age. Oh, my word. I only wish I could have played like that when I was that young. But yeah, for those of you who've managed to see the little video clips and stuff online, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This competition, it just gets bigger and better every year. And this year was an absolute record breaker. So yeah, full credit to all of you involved. Now, I'm not going to start reading a hashtag list of who won what. You can go and look online and find all the results themselves. I'm just going to briefly run through some of the winners here. Kicking things off with the juvenile competition, congratulations to George Watson's College, of course, lifting the top prize there in juvenile. Novice Juvenile A also went to George Watson's. Well done. Juvenile B went to George Watson's as well. There you are. And Junior A went to Fetz College. Yeah, there you go, Fetz College. Junior B went to High Life Highland Pipe Band. Yes, now I have been following the High Life Highland Pipe Band for a while now on socials, and they have been working furiously hard behind the scenes in preparation for this event. So just really fantastic to see them lift the top prize there. Well done. Looking at Junior C then, the winner on the day was the Isle of Bute schools. There you go. Hopefully I've pronounced that right. If not, it's stuff that Rab got wrong. There was even a quartet competition. Now, I haven't seen any footage of this yet. I say yet, I'm hoping that there will be some. But yeah, congratulations to East Dunbartonshire Schools A. Yes, they finished up first in the quartet competition. Good stuff. There you go. So rolling on, the event that everyone had their eye on, possibly one of the most fun events in the entire thing, was the freestyle event. And yeah, these have been the performances I've been heavily invested in. I've been watching all of them. They're so much fun. And yeah, congratulations to the winner, Strathmore Schools. Yeah, he managed to pick up a tidy 1,500 quid for your trouble. That's not bad. So yeah, well done, Strathmore Schools. And yes, as I say, those performances are all up online from the freestyle. Just a lot of fun and so creative as well. You know, when a school pipe band is just given free rein to play whatever the heck they want, yeah, they can have fun with it. It's really, really cool. So there you go. Shout out to Strathmore Schools, the winner on the day for the freestyle. Brilliant. So, as I said, that's just a brief summary of who won what, but there's a full list of all the prize winners, and you can go and have a look at that now on bagpipe.news. Yeah, the Scottish Schools Championships, we have championed it in previous years. Yes, we didn't mention it much on the show this year, I guess. I don't know. We've had to cut a lot of stuff for time, I guess, and this is one that hit the cutting room floor. So that's on us. Apologies to all of the competitors. But yeah, we're talking about it now because this one was an absolute record breaker. 172 schools. That's insane. That's so good. Well done. So yeah, as I've said, we've done our best to share out those performances as we've seen them. But if you're aware of any that we haven't, then please do send them in to us and we'll happily share those out with our audience. But yeah, the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Championships is just getting bigger and better every year. And yeah, full credit to everyone involved there. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to mention a little article that has just been published today at the point of me recording the pod. Yeah, shout out to good friends there at pipesdrums.com. They've published an article on the interesting developments there at the MacCals. Now, we did mention this on our previous Rab show, and a number of you picked up on it. Yeah, Mackenzie Caledonian are going to be faring out in Grade 2 this season. Yeah. And a lot of people seem to miss the boat on that one. Yeah, now you might have missed this, but after the 2022 season, the Grade 2 MacCal, I keep calling them MacCal, but that's what I know them as, the Mackenzie Caledonian, to give them their full title, they decided to step back from competition and kind of rebuild themselves. Now, in that process, of course, we're aware that they'd compete in all their grades, but that wasn't their Grade 2 band. Yeah, it was still percolating behind the scenes. Yeah. So the band didn't really ask for an upgrade, downgrade, or anything like that. They didn't dissolve, nothing like that. They did remain in place and, as I say, percolated in the background, I guess. So they remained registered as a Grade 2 band for a few seasons, and then now they have new leadership at the helm. Pipe Major Alan Lowe and a brand new lead tipper, David Richardson. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the mighty MacCals will bring to that Grade 2 circle. Yeah. Now, not forgetting as well, I have to give them a shout out, of course, but Pipe Major Jamie Falconer will be now the new Pipe Sergeant of the MacCals as well. And yeah, for those of you who recognise that name, he's Pipe Major of the Vale of Atholl. And yeah, knows a thing or two how to set up a band. So this is exciting. So yeah, the full article on all of this is available on pipesdrums.com, where it does unpack how all of this took place. Yeah. So if you are looking the full scoop, my advice is go along to pipesdrums.com. It's quite an interesting article. It does talk about the movement of players between the old Vale of Athol and its Grade 2 days to, well, the now new and revamped Mac Cals. So that's an exciting prospect, that, you know. And yeah, this is the return of Mackenzie Caledonian to Grade 2, and it does, in a way, kind of offset the loss of what we have experienced now with Glasgow Sky. So we have one band away from the circle now, but now we have one band returning. So it's an interesting dynamic, that. And the full story, pipesdrums.com. Go and have a read at it. It's quite interesting. And shout out to everyone there at the Mac Cals. I'm very curious to see what music you're going to bring to the circle, folks. So according to the article, they've been working away since about January time, preparing for this incoming season. And yeah, excitement is in the camp, and I'm really looking forward to it. So there you go. Shout out to the Mac Cals. Can't wait, boys. That's going to be good. Okay, going to briefly mention the Glasgow Uist and Barras Association piping competition that took place this past weekend. I could just about read my script. Yeah, this was in Ontego Street, of course, on the Saturday past. And yeah, congratulations to Finlay Johnson, who was the winner overall with his first place Pembroke performance. Yeah, and he also placed second in the MSR. There you are. Angus McCall also had a successful day. He won the MSR competition, the hornpipe and jig as well, but he had a fourth place in Pembroke. So mathematically, that put Finlay on top. There you are. So yeah, again, I haven't seen footage from this. Unfortunately, getting those performances online, I don't know. I haven't been able to see them anywhere. So if you've seen them and would like to share them, again, please do. But yeah, congratulations to everyone who took part in the Glasgow Uist and Barras competitions. Quite a list of competitors, actually. Callum Beaumont, Callum Brown, Sandy Cameron, Ben Duncan, Jimmy Forrester, Finlay, of course, who won it, Stephen Lesk, Angus McCall, of course, it came second, Sarah Muir, Connor Sinclair, and Brodie Watson-Massey. So that's quite a list of competitors there. So I would have been, yeah, quite keen to see some of the action from that, but unfortunately, none of it appears to have seen the light of day online. So, well, there you go. But if you are aware of them and you could share, please do. Send them our road. bigrabshow@gmail.com. Of course, yesterday, well, the 10th of March is International Bagpipe Day, isn't it? It is, and it's a bit of a strange day. You know, it's one where bagpipers kind of celebrate their own instrument, but isn't that not what we do every day? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. I've seen a lot of non-bagpiping fans going, "Hey, Rab, it's Bagpipe Day. What are you doing?" Like, I'm the same thing I'm doing every day. Practicing, I guess. You know, wasn't really any different for me. But I don't know. I got a lot of non-bagpiping fans contacting me going, "Hey, Rab, you're the bagpipe guy, aren't you?" Uh-huh. "Oh, happy Bagpipe Day, mate." Okay, thanks. Right. What do you do with that? Will we start seeing International Bagpiping Day greeting cards and stuff? I don't know. It's a bit of a strange day for us in the scene. I guess every day's Bagpiping Day. But I suppose it's nice to have an international day dedicated to the instrument that we love. There you go. There was a lot of posting in that on social media. A lot of pipers did decide to get the pipes out of the box and have a tune that day. Yeah, just because it was International Bagpiping Day. And it was great to see, you know? So perhaps those out there that might have fired the pipes onto the bed and forgot about them for the last 8 months, to say, "Oh, Bagpiping Day. Yeah, I forgot I had those. I might have a tune or two." And before you know it, they might be back in again in the circle. You just don't know. But yeah, shout out to anyone who celebrated International Bagpipe Day. And yeah, it's a thing, apparently. There you go. Okay, time for another wee news story, and this one comes from the Ayrshire, Dumfries and Galloway branch. Yeah, at the point of me hitting record here tonight, a story actually dropped from the branch's own socials. And this was quite interesting, this one. And I believe there's a story here to tell. It's a very simple statement, it's only a few sentences, but it has a lot of people talking. Right, what am I talking about? Well, the statement comes out and it says, "Please be advised that after a meeting of the Girvan and District Attractions Committee, a decision has been made to permanently exclude the drum majors element from the Carrick Lowland gathering." Right? I'm going to let that one sink in for a bit. So we're going to permanently exclude drum majors. Now, this is due to, well, poor entries with significant costs to the promoter. i.e. paying for an adjudicator to travel a great distance sometimes, resulting in an overnight stay. Yeah, so that's the reason they pulled the plug on drum majoring in their event. Now, don't get me wrong, shout out to Girvan and District Attractions Committee. They're quite within their right to make decisions like this. Absolutely. But I do feel for the poor drum majors who now have one less event to compete at. Yeah, all for the want of paying for an adjudicator to travel and potentially an overnight hotel stay and all of that. Yeah. And that all can mount up, I guess, you know, depending on what hotel you stay in. You know, you could be staying at the Ritz-Carlton, some big flashy 5-star number, or you could be staying at the Premier Inn. I just don't know. But, hi, that was an interesting one. And is this the sign of things to come? Yeah, this is what sparked the conversation. Well, first it's drum majors. What's next? They're going to exclude grade 4B, 4A, 3A, 3B. What next? I don't know, but it's an interesting development, that one, isn't it? Where, you know, event organizers are looking at things from the point of view of affordability. Yeah. So, will we see this for other minor competitions and events and gatherings and such? I don't know. I hope not. I don't like to see anything being excluded from competition. You know, I want everyone on the park, but, hey, there you are. That statement come out from the Ayrshire, Dumfries and Galloway branch and did strike up a bit of a conversation with folks behind the scenes. Yeah, interesting that. Anyway, speaking of behind the scenes, I have to give a shout out to our RSPBA headquarters. Yes, just yesterday, actually, they took a trip over to sunny Belfast. Well, it wasn't exactly sunny, but they did publish a good number of photographs of RSPBA officials checking out the grounds and everything at Grove Park for this year's UK Championships. Yeah, 13th of June is fast approaching, and our own chief executive was there checking things out, along with other representatives from RSPBA. And now I still have yet to visit Grove Park in Belfast, but I do know whereabouts it is in the city, and it's a very random location. I don't know it very well, is what I'm saying. It's not a part of Belfast I'm in very often, but I'm very curious as to how this is going to work. Yeah. But the photographs that RSPBA have published online shows them in meetings, of course. Also representatives there from the Ulster Scots Agency and that as well, because obviously they're helping to run the event here in Northern Ireland. So it's very interesting to see these behind the scenes, kind of photographs and things. It shows you that, you know, major championships don't just happen. There is a wealth of work that goes on behind the scenes to make these things a reality. And we're getting a little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes. Let's see how it ties into my previous story. Behind the scenes is stuff that we've never really gotten before from our RSPBA. And this is now them, I think, essentially opening the doors somewhat and being more transparent in the ways that, hey, look, we're actually working here behind the scenes trying to make things happen. And, here's the evidence of such. Now, there's a full statement, of course. We love a good statement here from our own chief executive, Colin Mulhern. And I'm going to read it to you because we love a statement here, don't we? Yeah, he goes on to say, I'm incredibly excited to be attending the on-site planning session for the UK Pipe Band Championships in Grove Park in Belfast. Now, why he would be incredibly excited about that, I don't know. Moving on. It's always inspiring to be part of the preparation that goes into such a prestigious event. And being there in person brings a real sense of anticipation for what's to come. The championships are such an important occasion in the pipe band calendar, bringing together talented bands, dedicated organisers, and passionate supporters from across the UK and beyond. Well said. He goes on to say, having the opportunity to walk the grounds, discuss logistics, and to help shape the plans for the day ahead makes the whole event feel even more special. Grove Park will provide a fantastic setting, and it's great to be working alongside others who share the same enthusiasm and delivering a memorable championship. I'm happy, looking forward to seeing everyone coming together to be playing a part in what promises to be a brilliant celebration of pipe band music and tradition. Go on, Colin, you legend. Yeah. If that doesn't pep you up for the UK's, I don't know what will. That's very exciting for what I'm sure was quite a boring meeting. Working out where they're putting portaloos, where the car parking is going to be, where's the catering going, where are you going to put your chip fan, all that kind of stuff. It's all that logistical thing. Very interesting. Shout out to RSPBA for posting that on their socials. If you haven't checked that out yet, go and have a look at it. It's a very interesting dynamic now that RSPBA are giving us those kind of sneak peeks of what they're up to. Very, very cool. Now, speaking of RSPBA HQ, of course, this weekend sees our annual general meeting. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's been the topic of conversation in many's a band hall now for a few weeks since the order papers were published. And yeah, this year's AGM will be a juicy one. There's a lot of stuff on the table to talk about, including some big hitters. We mentioned this last night on Fuse about, the amount of bands that are no longer on the grass. Yeah. And now, finally, they're bringing it for a discussion at AGM level, talking about a potential number cap. Yeah. Now, I don't know. We've been debating this number cap on the show now for what feels like years, but now it's finally going to see the light of day at an AGM. I am very curious to see how this is going to shake down. Yeah, the positives, the negatives, all of it will get thrashed out at this weekend's meeting, and I guess we will wait and see what happens. Now, also, not only the number cap idea, but another idea about, a transfer window. Are we now going to get an official transfer season? We've always jokingly talked about transfer season every winter, but here it is now in black and white, an official time of year where it will be okay for a PM or lead tipper to leave their band and transfer to another one. Yeah, and it's all going to be signed and sealed, and that it's going to be agreed that this is a thing. It's just going to be so interesting. There's going to be a lot on the table, folks, to talk about. This year's AGM is going to be a good one. So with a bit of luck, we will have a lot to talk about on next week's show. I am hoping to get a lot of insight as to what actually happened at the AGM, what rule changes there are, and how will it affect our new season. It's going to be an interesting one. So again, I know I've already reminded you so many times, but if your band secretary does not plan to attend, then please do send a proxy. Yeah, please make sure that someone from your band will be attending the AGM. Now, even if it's not in person, there is an online element as well where you can tune in over Zoom and at least be part of the conversation. You don't have to contribute all the time, and it's not going to be a real arduous thing, but if you certainly have a question, make sure that your band's voice is heard. Be at the meeting. Yeah. So there you go. That's my advice. Full details, of course, you can go to rspba.com or is it .com? Yeah. That's stuff that Rab got wrong. rspba.org.
Stuff that Rab got wrong.
Yeah, don't go to rspba.com. I don't know if that website even exists. I don't know where I got that from. But yeah, rspba.org, and you'll find out more info on the AGM. And of course, give your band secretary a bit of a shake and say, hi, I believe the AGM's this weekend. Are you going? Are you going? There's no question. You are going. There you go. Okay. Now, I know I mentioned these on last week's show, but I'm just going to repeat myself again because it's worth doing. Just to remind you, various closing dates are fast approaching, okay? For the UK drumming solos, for the Ulster drumming solos as well. Closing dates for those are fast approaching, as well as the European Solo Drumming Championship. Yeah, sponsored by Kingdom Thistle, of course. The closing date for that is on the 25th of March. So, yeah, get your applications in for that one. And there's plenty of others as well. Do keep across the communications from your local branches where they've been trying to keep you updated with closing dates and stuff. There's a lot of them. I think I mentioned last week about the Oceania competition happening there in New Zealand. The closing date for that one's been published too. Just keep across your closing date, folks. All right? Yeah, there's a lot of bands out there and a lot of soloists and stuff that often forget about their paperwork. And then when it comes to competing and they rock up at the competition and go, oh, well, hold on, you're not registered to compete. We didn't know you were coming. So don't be that person. get your paperwork taken care of, then you can worry about the musical competition. All right, there you go. Okay, now I'm going to give it another big plug this week, but of course, this weekend sees St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yeah, next week is St. Patrick's Day, and there is a wealth of music all across Belfast City, thanks to Belfast Tradfest. And yeah, bagpiping is definitely well represented at this year's Belfast Tradfest. In fact, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's insane. I don't know if you've seen the full lineup for the St. Patrick's Day Music Festival from Belfast Tradfest, but come on. There's workshops, there's talks, there's gigs, there's come and try sessions, there's Ceilidh events, there's pile and piping competitions. By the way, that's happening on Sunday in the Mac Theatre. There's a junior competition and a senior one as well. And the winner of the senior competition actually gets an opportunity then. If they win, they get the opportunity to go and represent Ireland at the Lorient Music Festival. What? Yeah, so anyway, I'm just going to breeze over all because there's just way too much for me to mention. But yeah, shout out to everyone there that's going to be playing all sorts of great tunes as part of the St. Patrick's Day Music Festival this weekend in Belfast, running from the 13th of March through to the 17th, of course, on the big day itself. There's a wealth of Highland piping all across it. Do I even need to mention the pipe band extravaganza at Belfast City Hall on the Sunday? What? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually. Yeah, I hope to be there, of course. I don't know whether I'm playing tunes at it or not. I don't know, but I'll certainly will be there in some form or other because I'll be checking out the piping competition later on that day in the Mac Theatre. So there's a lot to look after there. Yeah, for sure. A lot of piping action. So go and check it out. Belfast Tradfest for full details, all your ticket information as well for a lot of those gigs that are happening. Go and check it out. Shout out to Belfast Tradfest. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yoo-hoo! Okay, now I know I've mentioned this in a previous Rab show, but I'm going to mention it again. We always love promoting gigs and stuff, you know? Well, this one is happening on the 21st of March. It's Altneve Memorial are hosting it. It's a huge, big fundraising night, and they're raising money to strike a blow against cancer. I love that. So, yeah, it's a huge charity night, and they've published the full listings of everyone that's going to be at this on the 21st of March. This is going to be a big one. So it's all going to be held in the Canal Court Hotel. Tickets are 15 quid and are available from anyone from Altneve Pipe Band. You can go and check them out on the socials. And this will be a huge night of celebration because, of course, the band is now 80 years in the business. 80 years! Yeah. Crazy. So there you go. They're going to be celebrating a huge birthday night with a massive celebration. And, people from all across the piping scene are going to be in this, so I'm looking forward to it. Proceeds on the night will go to cancer research, Macmillan, and to Marie Curie. So there you are. Striking a blow to cancer. Fantastic. So that's on the 21st of March, Canal Court Hotel, thanks to Altneve Memorial. Okay, I've got another gig to promote. This one is a fundraising event for Uddingston Pipe Band. Yeah, we mentioned this last week as they were hosting it initially as a night with Roddy McLeod, MBE. Well, this night it's grown since then, and more people have been added to the bill. Now, obviously, you'll be treated to a night of blistering piping with Roddy McLeod. Now, what's not to love about that? But also, on the night, you'll have two-time current world solo drumming champion, Kerr McQuillan. You! Yeah. So Kerr McQuillan will be there as well, thumping out some big tunes. And also, just announced at the point of me recording this, Callum Beaumont will be there as well. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, for full details, go and check out Uddingston Pipe Band on their socials. This is all happening on the 8th of May in the Tonnockside Miners Club. Yeah, so if you do want to go and help support the Uddingston Pipe Bands, well, there's your opportunity. And what a night that's going to be. Oh, come on. 8th of May. I don't know. Genuinely, I was looking at flights for this. Yeah, I'm not lying. Looking at the light, this is going to be a great night's crack. So for tickets, go to eventbrite.co.uk, or you can contact any member of Uddingston who can tell you where you can get sorted out with tickets. But Roddy McLeod, Kerr McQuillan, and Callum Beaumont. Man, that's going to be a night and a half. Oh, also, just to mention, just when I'm speaking about Uddingston, that reminds me of their lead tipper, of course, Craig Lowry. Well, Craig is, he's part of Drums and Roses, isn't he? Yeah, Drums and Roses lost their Facebook page. Not entirely sure what happened to it, whether it was hacked or what the heck happened, but there was a notice put up on Craig's socials over the course of the last few days to say that they're working on getting it back again. For now, if you do want to contact Drums and Roses in any way, then you can contact them on their Instagram page, which they still do have the access to. So not entirely sure what happened there. I don't know, the joys of social media sometimes, I guess. But yeah, commiserations to Drums and Roses. You guys had thousands of followers over on your Facebook page, and then suddenly now it's gone. So awful stuff. So yeah, hopefully they will get that returned again. But in the meantime, anyone wanting to contact Drums and Roses, you can do through their Instagram page. There you are. Okay, now I don't know how many of you out there are rugby fans, okay? But if you've ever watched a game of rugby, you can see just how passionate the fans are about the sport, right? Well, this past weekend, of course, seen a huge game with Scotland on the field, right? Now, that normally would bring some piping action to the game, right? Can I give a huge shout out to People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate, who are responsible for a lot of the piping action at the Scotland match over the weekend. And you deserve a round of applause. Wow. Now, not only were they there piping at the stadium, of course, but also shout out to Chris Coates, who'd done the solo bagpiping up on the ramparts almost, standing up at the top of the stadium. Wow. Yeah, he must have a head for heights up there. But yeah, shout out to People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate, Caledonia. What a performance. And not only at the stadium and all that, and then up on the top of the stadium thing, but afterwards, in the pub, afterwards, they were playing tunes for the French fans. It was so cool. Don't know if you've seen those clips and stuff, but we've shared them out. But yeah, shout out to People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate. What a performance. Well done. And the fans definitely seemed to appreciate it. Singing along with full hearts. Oh, it was just really fantastic. That's the only word for it. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, going to briefly mention, well, an initiative that we're definitely a huge fan of, the Maquette Collective. Now, we've been talking about this on the show now for a good while. You know, we've brought it to full topics of the week even, where we explore what the Maquette Collective actually do. Well, they've announced recently that they'll be doing a full recital series. Yeah. Now, this is all taking place at the National Piping Centre in McFader Street on the 25th of April. It is ticketed, but tickets are free. You can go along to the Piping Centre now, pipingcentre.co.uk /Maquette, and you can go and get your tickets for this. So the full lineup and everything has been published. You can go and check it out. But yeah, this is so exciting to see now that the Maquette Collective are now running recitals. Now, I don't know if this is the first in the recital series, but I'm hoping that there will be more. Yeah. The entire thing will be recorded professionally by a television outlet and YouTube channel, Trad TV, and that'll be available for public release, and you will be able to watch that at a later date. Yeah. So shout out to Trad TV, otherwise known as Inner Ear. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some real high quality visuals from this exciting event. 25th of April. So if you do want to see it live in person, go and grab tickets. Piping live. Go to the National Piping Centre.co.uk /Maquette and grab your tickets there. Now, the reason I dropped in Piping Live is because that's what's written on my script here, and I skipped ahead. But just wanted to let you know, professional radio guy, just wanted to let you know the tickets are available now for Piping Live. You can get festival passes. Now, if memory serves me right, last year's Piping Live, whenever they had the festival passes and everything, they sold out. They sold out really quickly as well. So I'm just going to put it out there. If you are going to Piping Live and perhaps you do want to visit the festival site, and maybe getting a festival pass would be an idea if you're going to be in and out of the place all day, every day, like me, well, yeah, do head to Piping Live now. Go and grab your tickets before those festival passes disappear. I do believe they are in limited number. And I'm actually quite surprised that they're still available. So go and check them out. Go and grab your tickets. Avoid disappointment. And yeah, the festival pass is definitely worth its money. I'll say that. Because of the wealth of entertainment you'll be offered. Whew, unbelievable. There you go. So go and get your festival passes, and then you can thank me later. Okay? There you go. Okay, well, I know I should have probably brought this up under listener mail and everything, but we're beginning a lot of questions asking about the New Zealand Nationals. Yeah, New Zealand Nationals are fast approaching, actually, just a couple of weeks' time. And people asking, are we going to be doing content on the Nationals? Yes. In a word, yes. So, expect a full topic of the week, possibly, on the New Zealand Nationals as they're fast approaching. Now, can I pronounce the name of the town correctly that the Nationals is in? Let's have a bash at it, shall we? The 2026 New Zealand National Pipe Band Championships are being held in Taranaki? Oh, come on, Rab. Come on. Is it Taranaki? Have I completely pronounced that wrong? If I have, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose.
Stuff the Rab got wrong.
Absolutely not. But we are definitely gearing up for the New Zealand Nationals. We've been following a lot of the press and all that kind of stuff to do with the championship. And to say that this one's going to be exciting would be an understatement. Yeah, especially looking at the performances that there's been at minor competitions in the run-up to this. There's been some blistering music played. Now, not just in the top flight grades as well, but all through. It's been so competitive this season already in New Zealand, all ramping up towards the Nationals. Ooh, it's going to be good. So, yes, to answer questions, possibly should have brought that to listener mail, but hey, there we go. Yes, we will be tackling more to do with the Nationals in next week's episode of the show. All right, there you go. Let's move on. Okay, so before we do get into this week's topic of the week and everything, I just wanted to give a shout out this week to the Blackthorn Piping Society. Yeah, the Blackthorn Piper Society announced it just a while ago that the featured Blackthorn Piper this month for March is Pipe Major Robert Black. Yes, Pipe Major Robert Black, of course, is PM of the mighty Tullylagan. Yeah, the Grade 2 band. There you go. So that'll all be held, of course, in the Discover Ulster Scots Centre in Belfast on Wednesday, 18th of March. Yeah, doors open at 7 p.m. and it's free. Just dander in. Now, for those of you that have caught the action in previous Blackthorn Piper Society, yeah, you know what you're in for. And, this one's going to be an exciting one for sure, with lots of great piping action, as they all are. Yeah. Go along to the Blackthorn Piper Society on their socials, actually. You can have a look at all of those previous performances and those other featured Blackthorn Pipers. Yeah, it's quite a prestigious thing now. A lot of pipers really want to be a part of this. And, for good reason. It's quite a pedigree of people that come through there. Yeah. So shout out to Robert Black, PM. Yep. Best of luck to you, boss. Looking forward to seeing your performance now on the 18th of March there. Here you are. Now, seeing how I'm talking about Tullylagan, I'm just going to give a bit of a shameless plug. Come on, why not? Tullylagan are throwing a huge concert, of course, in the Burnavon Theatre in their hometown in Cookstown. We've mentioned it once or twice. Just to plug it again, tickets are still available for this. 18th of April is when it's happening, so go along to the Burnavon Theatre box office, grab your tickets, and you'll be treated to all sorts of great piping and drumming. Not just from Tullylagan, I have to say. There are others on the bill as well. It's going to be quite a night of music, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. It always shapes up to be quite a big, a big deal. It always sells out every year, so I'm quite surprised tickets are still available right now. So there you go. Go and grab them. 18th of April, Tullylagan in concert. There you are. Speaking of grabbing tickets and stuff, thank you to everyone who commented on last week's episode with the Kids with Cancer charity night. Yeah, people are very keen to grab tickets for that. So I think Gary Smith is incredibly busy at the moment trying to sort people out with tickets and seats and whatnot. So again, tickets for that is flying out the door. So if you do want to go and grab them, now's the time. Go and contact Gary Smith, and we'll see you at the Kids with Cancer charity night at the end of the month. It's going to be exciting now. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go and check out last week's podcast. We talked all about it. It's going to be a stellar night. Absolutely. So I think I'll draw a line under things there at this point. Now, there's bound to be stuff that have hit the cutting room floor again. And if that is the case, please do email us in and let us know. bigrabshow@gmail.com. And if there is a story that we should absolutely bring to the show, then let us know. And we'll bring that to a future episode. Yeah. But for now, it's time for me to go and get myself a big cup of tea. I've got a feeling that this one's going to be, it's going to be a controversial one. Yeah. I think it's time. It's time for the topic of the week.
Kingdom Thistle Pipe Band supplies for all your pipe band and marching band needs. Supplying everything from uniforms and instruments to custom designed bass drum heads. They offer it all. Not forgetting their exclusive Kingdom Gilly Brogues and George Boots, crafted by bands for bands. Kingdom Thistle provides expert product advice and an industry-leading drum refurbishment service to keep your equipment in top-class condition. Also, shipping worldwide. So, stop by their store in Fife or visit them online at kingdomthistle.com for all your pipe band and marching needs.
Marchify, the brand new home of Flam 5 drumming. Check out their brand new Strike bagpipe case, inspired by their colourful, popular and reliable Flam 5 drum cases. The Strike bagpipe case combines durability, style and practicality, protecting every movement. Shop now at marchify.co.uk with worldwide shipping available. Marchify, every movement protected.
Hi, this is Anna Smart, and you're listening to The Big Rab Show.
Okay, time for topic of the week. Now, by way of a disclaimer, this is not a sort of be-all and end-all. We understand that every band has their own unique set of circumstances as to why potentially they may need to pull the plug. So before we even get into this week's topic, what does it take to keep a band on the grass? Let it be known that we do not have the answers. If anything, we just have more questions than anything else. However, ourselves and the Rab Show team, we've been looking at this issue now for quite a number of weeks. And, well, the news last week, talking all about Glasgow Sky hitting pause, it has just brought this topic through to the fore again. So, let's get into it. What does it actually take to keep a band on the grass? Well, the way we approached this topic is that we looked at what the potential pressure points were. What are the challenges facing bands nowadays? What is potentially keeping them out of the circle? And I think, but we've reached out to quite a number of sources around the piping scene, okay? Now, don't worry, all of those that we did reach out to and told us all of their thoughts and feelings wanted to do so anonymously. So, I will respect your wishes, okay? So don't worry, I'm not going to name drop people here and land people in it, okay? But I have been researching this for a number of weeks, and I have made a bit of a hashtag list of some of those key pressure points, all right? You know the way we love a good hashtag list here on the Big Rab Show? Well, I'm hoping folks will get some actual value from this. These are some points where I guess, you should really look out for whenever you're trying to sustain a competitive pipe band in the circle. Now, I have to say, this is also not unique to grades 1 and 2. It's also for all grades at all levels, and even for non-competitive bands as well. A lot of these will ring true for those also. Now, before I get into my list and start going down all the list of what the pressure points are, I do have to say I can speak on this on a bit of a level of experience. Unfortunately, I have been a part of a few bands that have went through this, and for various different reasons, for one or another, has resulted in the band pulling the plug. And each time is absolutely heartbreaking for all involved. I'll say that. Some of those bands I look back on that I've played with over the years that have had to step back from competition, I do truly miss them. I still keep in contact with a lot of the membership today, and a lot of us do still fondly look back at those days. Do you remember when we were in the circle doing ABC? So this can be quite an emotive topic, and we've tried to remove the emotion part of it, all right? We've tried to look at this very analytically and kind of just give you the facts as to some of the things that we found as to the key pressure points and possibly things to look out for whenever trying to maintain a band. So, by way of a precursor, that's all of the disclaimer stuff out of the road. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Number 1 on our list of a key pressure point of why a potential band might need to stand back, well, financial. Number 1 has to be the financial burden. Now, not every band out there has the luxury of having big sponsors involved. Normally that does fall to a lot of our top flight bands, and they're in that quite privileged position where they get instruments and uniforms and all that kind of stuff kind of subsidized, or in some cases even handed to them and say, here you go and play this product all year and go and win a world championships, or win a something with it, win a major championship, and make sure that everyone knows that you're playing insert product name here. That happens. We all know that happens, and it is what it is. It's kind of one of the perks, I guess, for playing on the top flight. But I'm not saying that they're completely immune to the financial burden either. They are absolutely in the same pot as everyone else. Whenever you look at the likes of logistics and travel costs, for example, the competitive season takes you all across different arts and parts, and a lot of it can be quite expensive, planes, trains, automobiles. And if you're traveling with multiple drums or pipe cases, it can all add up very quickly. Hotels, as we've been speaking about here in the Rab Show now for years, as soon as they hear that a major championship is rolling into town, well, the prices certainly roll up the ways, don't they? If you're going to actually look for a hotel now for this year's World Championships, well, be prepared to remortgage the house at this point. Every year rolls around with the World Championships. I tell people in either September or October, get your travel booked in for the Worlds next year. And people just ignore me. Go, Rab, wise up, that's way too early. And then, come March, April time, and they start looking at hotels, and they go, oh, jeepers, Rab, I think you were right at that point. So, we know that there can be, it's not price gouging. I don't think that's the right word, but they can certainly kind of boost their prices based on the potential demand of a whole raft of pipe banders coming into town for a major. We've seen evidence of that. So, yes, our top flight bands are not immune to that either. Now, as well as all of the expenditures and stuff, uniform, travel, logistics, all that sort of stuff, band dues, fees, all that kind of thing, that's all outgoing. But pipe bands are kind of unlike other musical genres out there. Yeah, pipe bands haven't really got a steady income stream. For example, if you played in a regular rock band that would gig in a pub at the weekend, well, that gig in the pub at the weekend would actually provide some income. You'll be getting X amount of pounds for your gig that weekend, and then it'll roll around again and again and again. And there's somewhat of a income there. Plus, that band can go out and record an album, put it out on streaming software, streaming outlets and stuff, and then you'll get that income from streams on your album, and it just snowballs. But for pipe bands, no, you don't get that. I guess the only real income pipe bands have is whenever they do play a gig or run a fundraising concert, or, to a lesser extent, if they win a prize at a major, you potentially get prize money there. But I don't know if we can really count that. But there is a distinct lack of money coming in to a pipe band, which makes fundraising kind of a focus of most bands. Now, don't get me wrong, there are those out there that don't have that problem. All right, I'm very aware of that. I did mention them. There's bands out there that have really cool sponsors and everything and help keep the wheel turning. Running a pipe band is an expensive business, not only for the membership themselves, but for the actual band themselves. And fundraising is a concern. And some bands can find it really challenging financially, and some may need to step back from that circle because they simply can't afford it. Now, we believe that this is one area that potentially RSPBA headquarters could look at. Could they look at possible bursary schemes, scholarships, I don't know, grants and stuff for instruments and things? I don't know. They are a charity, and one of their focuses is to help the piping scene. So if they can actively help bands be in that circle, especially financially, well, is that something that they could look at? I don't know. I'm just spitballing now. Like I said, we don't have the answers here. So number one on our list here, financial. Moving on to the second pressure then that bands would face and potentially draw them away from the circle is one that's going to be really difficult to talk about. This, okay, I'm just going to say it. Personnel and loyalty challenges. Oh! This is going to be a tricky one, okay? The human element of pipe bands is possibly the most volatile part of it. Whenever you're looking at the financials, that's numbers on a spreadsheet, and you can try and get an income revenue stream coming in to help support the band, and you can work it out, I guess. You know, looking at government grants and arts councils and stuff and sponsorships and things like that, you could do something about that. But this next one, the human element of it, that's a completely different bag of cats. Retaining your membership in a pipe band is a constant struggle. The ability to be able to find and keep really skilled players within the ranks of your band is absolutely an ongoing issue for all of the leadership. Now, how do you retain that membership? Well, it depends on what the membership of the band is looking for. Is the band looking for fun? You know, do they want to go and play in big concert halls and stuff and play huge gigs with, I don't know, insert name here, Elton John, just comes to mind. Any big pop stars, you know, Paul McCartney, just play a Mulligan tire. Anyway, all those kind of fun things, is that what your band's looking for? Head out on a St. Patrick's Day and all the rest and thump out Amazing Grace for the 15th time and, hi, that's great, I'll see you all next year. Brilliant. And they'll keep the band together until next year's gig. Or is it success at competition that drives the membership towards your band? Do they believe that your team of skilled and talented performers are there to lift silverware? Yes, this is a difficult one. So not only that, you have to figure out what the driving force is that keeps your membership together. That's a really tricky one. Also, you have to look at other things that, you know, kind of the intangibles. Players could be musically kind of scattered to the wind. You know, a lot of players nowadays in the bagpiping world have options, whereas before they mightn't have had as many options. Before, you were either a band player or a solo player, and you competed, and that was it. You didn't really have any other options. But nowadays, so many pipers now that compete are also involved in the Celtic and folk music scene. They're gigging all across, playing all sorts of amazing, more free music, you know? There's so many other options out there now for bagpipers, and playing in a band is simply one of them. So, again, how do you retain those players that perhaps have opportunities to go and do a tour of Italy, for example, or go and play in those massive stages with Elton John or Paul McCartney? You know what I mean? So, yeah, again, getting that player loyalty and identifying what's going to retain those players, or even what will attract more players to your band, is incredibly difficult. Now, one thing that I'm going to mention on the show, whenever you're talking about personnel and loyalty challenges, we all know about transfer season. And we all know, of course, that this weekend, the AGM will be talking about a potential official transfer season where a pipe major or lead tipper can officially move bands with agreement. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there. One of the things that I wanted to mention, and this is going to be controversial, where I'm tap dancing on the landmine, a lot of bands out there simply collapse under the pressure because they either fail to identify a possible successor to either the pipe major or lead tipper, or they fail to kind of recruit one or kind of get someone from within the ranks. It seems to be the role of pipe major and the role of lead drummer is the poison chalice at the moment. So many people are reluctant to take on that role of leadership because with that role brings a world of stresses, can I tell you, and a world of pressure as well. And a lot of people out there just don't want it. Yeah, let's face it. They want to go in, play in their band, have a bit of crack in the weekend, and possibly lift a trophy or two, and then head home and forget all about it. Whereas a pipe major or a lead drummer, all you can think about is your band. If you're a pipe major out there, you're constantly thinking about, oh, wee Jimmy's chanter down the end needs a new reed, and I haven't got a chance to get to the reed shop yet. I need to go online, possibly get them ordered, and then by the time I get one picked out for him, and then it goes on and on. Lead drummers as well. We've mentioned this on the show before as well. Lead drummers are under an incredible amount of pressure. And for interest, you can go to pipesdrums.com, where they did do a bit of a panel discussion on why there is a distinct lack of leading drummers out there. And it is a bit of a problem at the moment. And yeah, we did mention how the drumming world is a lot more creative and nuanced based outside of the piping world, I guess, where pipes can very much swap dots on the page and, look up a tune in a book and say that's what we're playing. But for drummers, it's completely different, where you need to compose a drum score from the ground up and can be very unique and can be quite high pressured. And yeah, if you don't get the results, well then is that a reflection on you personally and your own musical tastes and your approach to the music, which could be very hard to take for some. Yeah. So yeah, this succession planning is a problem. And it's something that a lot of pipe bands, especially now in the modern day, I don't believe are considering, And even at that, I'm going to float this idea and then I'm going to step away. This is me being as controversial as I'm possibly going to get here on the show. Yeah, the whole idea of succession, getting someone lined up to step into the big brogues if they're ever needed. The fact that those conversations would happen in the first place would cause someone in those leadership roles to potentially go, well, hold on. If they're talking about replacing me when I'm gone, well, then why don't I just go? Oh! Yep, that has happened in a few pipe bands that I've been in my time, to be honest. I'm not going to name the band. But I was in a leadership role, and yeah, I heard word that they were talking behind the scenes. Well, who's going to replace Rab whenever he steps down, or whenever he, decides enough's enough, I don't want to be lead tipper anymore. Well, they were absolutely terrified to tell me that these conversations were happening, because they were thinking that very same thing of what I just said. Well, if they're having the conversations about who's next, well then, should I just step aside and let them have the who's next? Well, if anything, I praised them for it. I said, you know what? That's a good idea. You know what? I'm going to continue carrying the can for now. And if you do get someone lined up to take over this thing, then absolutely. If you want me to step aside, brilliant. If not, fair enough. At least, you're doing your homework here. You're providing for the longevity of the band, I guess. And that's really difficult to talk about. Incredibly difficult to talk about, because, well, folks, this bagpiping world, we all know each other. And we did mention it in a previous weekly drone where someone was saying you're in secret talks with pipe bands. Secret talks don't exist in the piping world. They don't. As soon as you lift that phone and are talking to some other band for some other reason, well, then that, very quickly becomes common knowledge around the piping world. Oh, guess who was on the phone? Oh, you never hear. There you go. So, yeah. And as a result, feelings can get hurt, egos can get bruised, and pipe bands can find themselves between a rock and a hard place with no leader and no potential replacement. And, yeah, the thing has to fold. So, the succession of leadership is incredibly difficult because, as we've mentioned here in the show, a leader in a pipe band is a vitally important role and can absolutely shape the history or the future. Well, shape the history too. The history and the future of that band, But, with that role comes a wealth of pressure, and a lot of people don't want it. Now, not only that, there's all sorts of interpersonal issues, power struggles, for example. Certain drummers not happy with the musical direction. There could be pipers out there. Oh, I don't like that break out there, but PM won't change it, and I hate his guts. Why won't he change it? All that kind of stuff. Power struggles, and kind of backstabby, he said, she said kind of stuff. All of that, whenever it's not out in the open and it's done behind closed doors, outside of band practices, behind the scenes, that stuff can be very toxic, because all of that stuff eventually does see the light of day. They might not want it to see the light of day, but eventually it does. You could be half a bottle in to your celebration on the way home on the bus from a competition, and then suddenly it all spills out. Well, guess what that guy said about the pipe major? He says you wouldn't change the brick, so he thinks you're nothing but a... Yeah, and then it all comes out of the woodwork, doesn't it? Yeah. So don't let that be the case. Do air your graces, as they say. If you have an issue, do bring it forward. Speak about it. Because all of this backroom power struggles and internal politics can be really toxic to a band. And the last thing you want it to do is to your pipe band. Moving on. I told you this is going to be a good one. All right, moving on to the next one. Modern distractions and time commitments. Now, I have fallen foul to this myself, okay? We'll talk about what I mean by this. Modern distractions, time commitments, the sheer volume of time that is required nowadays to be a part of a competitive pipe band is amazing. Now, here we are, 2026, and I don't believe there's been any more difficult time to be a part of a pipe band than there is right now. So many other distractions out there. Back in the day, we were talking the 50s, 60s, 70s, that there wasn't much else to do with your time other than to practice, learn tunes, work on your setup, and then head to band practice 2-3 nights a week. Well, nowadays, in 2026, where there's so much else going on, you have your Netflix, your YouTubes, all that kind of stuff. Plus, I don't know, my kids have so many extracurricular activities now. It's kind of insane. They run out the road more times than me. So, you've got all your different sports you can be a part of now. I just don't know. There are so many other distractions that can drag you away from pipe bands. Yeah. Perhaps this comes down to the recruitment part of it as well. Recruiting people to a pipe band and then explaining to them, hey, we practice 3 times a week, and then we're a band contest every Saturday all through the summer. And if we've got a concert coming up, then we'll possibly pull in an extra Saturday practice here and there for them as well. So that's extra time. Anyway, explaining all of that to possibly a new beginner or someone that's just took up the mantle and say, hey, I want to come play with you guys. And then you're like, right, 3 nights a week, plus you're practicing at home in between, and then we'll see you on Saturday for a contest. That's a difficult sell, because the players then thinking to themselves, well, when am I going to get time to play the new Grand Theft Auto game when it comes out? Or I just want to sit and scroll on TikTok for like 5 hours and then go to sleep. I don't want to practice the night. Yeah, it's so many digital distractions and stuff out there now, So whenever you consider as well, I'm going to throw this in, see whenever you are playing in the likes of the top flight, grade 1 and grade 2, the amount of pressure there is on those musicians is something ordinary. That's something that I don't regret. Had that kind of brief run in grade 1, and I spent quite a bit of time in grade 2, and that's when it gets really quite serious. And the amount of pressure, the amount of practice that's involved, and work it takes to even be in that circle, never mind to be a prize-winning band in the circle in those 2 grades. Like, we do call grade 2 the ridiculous grade for a reason, and it's very true. Those players work incredibly hard, and yeah, that's a very hard sell to say to anyone wanting to take into pipe banding and say, right, here's the workload that you're going to have in front of you to actually make this possible. And that can really kind of just, well, I'm not going to bother with that. And then they'll step away from the circle, and then before you know it, we've even less players in the circle. And then we're talking about bands folding and pausing here on the show. So that intensity that is required to compete at those levels can be a real off-putter for a lot of players. Now, also, let's face it, we all have a life outside of bagpiping. I know! I did tell you I was going to be controversial on this week's episode. You know, we have family commitments, we have birthdays, we have anniversaries, we have celebrations like that. And, you know, people go to university, they have careers. You know, heaven forbid we have a day job to pay the mortgage. We have home improvements, we have housekeeping, groceries to buy, we have that blinking fence to paint, all that kind of stuff. When do we get time to do all of that? When we're constantly practicing and preparing for the season. And then heaven help us when the season rolls in, everything else gets put on pause. I can't tell you the amount of weddings and birthday parties and other things, stag do's, stuff like that, that I have missed because of competitions, especially around the World Championships. And I keep telling my mates, if you have the audacity to organize your wedding during World's Week, come on. Anyway, so life has its priorities. And where does pipe bands fit in with those priorities? That, again, is a difficult sell for a lot of people. Now, I know myself, I'm saying this, I've thrown myself under the bus here. I have fallen foul of this myself. I haven't been able to get to practice with Tullylagan Band as often as I would like to because of my home life, basically, at the moment. As you guys know, I work for the BBC, but I'm also working Rab Show, and I'm trying to be a competitive bagpiper, as well as a functioning dad and all of that as well. There's a lot of stuff happening, and trying to juggle all of that time can be a real challenge. And difficult to keep all of those plates spinning. Thankfully, we haven't had to pull the plug on Rab Show yet. So, yeah, you're welcome. But it is one of those considerations. You know, modern distractions and time commitments are a big deal whenever trying to keep a band on the grass. And then how do you manage that? How do you manage the personnel around, well, Jimmy's got an exam that weekend, he can't compete. Or, oh, there's Mary, she's away to get married. Yep, we won't see her for a few weeks. That means she's going to miss 2 competitions. You know, how do you manage all of that? That's a huge challenge. But it's a part of pipe banding, isn't it? Now, I kind of briefly touched on this, and this is another one that was on our list here. Number 4, leadership and burnout. Yeah. Now, I did mention about just how important the leadership role is for a pipe band. Being a pipe major and a lead drummer are 2 vitally important roles which bring their own set of pressures. Now, one of the biggest problems, I believe, with leadership in a pipe band is that they often find themselves doing jobs that are not music related at all. For example, a pipe major in one of my previous bands, they often were responsible for booking the buses and responsible for managing the band email account. And they found themselves answering emails on behalf of the band at silly o'clock in the morning when they should have been in bed sleeping. You know, pipe majors take on a serious amount of responsibility, and as a result, often find themselves doing jobs that they really shouldn't be doing. They should be delegating to someone else to say, hey, see you over there? Right, you're in charge of uniforms. Can you please make sure that everyone has a tie on them on Saturday? That's not the job of the pipe major, you know? And another job, please make sure everyone's harness is in one piece. Make sure all the joints are tightened, that it's not coming to the competition on a Saturday in different pieces and we have to fix it all. Yeah, that's not the job of the lead drummer. Come on. So there's certain things that leadership roles should absolutely delegate to allow them the ability to be that leader that they should be and not have the risk of administrative overload. Yeah. Now, I know there's a lot of pipe majors right now and lead drummers that will be listening to the show and nodding their head furiously going, yeah, do you know, there probably is stuff that I'm doing right now that I've no business doing, you know? So if that is the case, My advice to you is to write it down. Write it down. Yeah. Now, this is useful exercise. Look at all of what you have to do as your role as a pipe major or a lead tipper, or even you as a band player right now if you're listening, and just write down all the jobs that your leadership does within your band. You know, who does book the buses? Who books the hotels? Who makes sure everyone gets fed and watered on a day of a competition? Who registers the band in the morning? Who pays the band dues? Oh, the band fees, all that kind of stuff. Who takes care of the player transfer sheets to make sure that they're submitted to HQ on time? Yeah. All of that kind of administrative stuff that makes a band work. Who takes care of it? Is it your PM? Is it your lead tipper? Or is it someone else? Has it been delegated out around the band, to the treasurer, the secretary, all of that? All of those different roles have, responsibilities, and a lot of it shouldn't see the doorstep of the PM or the lead tipper. That's just my opinion. Because for me, in my opinion, the role of a pipe major is to make sure the band is performing musically. And in some cases, the actual sound of the band gets delegated to a team who is responsible for setting the sound. You see them out there. There are teams of drone tuners whose job it is to set tone. There are teams of people out there that set chanters. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of PMs like to set their own chanters. Absolutely. Same for lead tippers as well. I know a lot of lead drummers out there that like to tune their own tenor chords and set their own drums and everything. Fine. Because that's all part of the musical conversation here. But this is what I'm saying. It's musically based. It's not administrative based. That's what I'm saying. So write down all the duties that you have, and then perhaps consider delegating some of those to say, hey, look, see, whenever I'm thinking about the break from the Strathspey into the rail, perhaps I shouldn't be thinking about what hotel we're staying in next weekend. And have I sent through the invoice? And have I paid that booking with the deposit and everything? Is that non-refundable? Right? You get what I'm saying? Okay. Leadership burnout. It's a big thing, So, do make sure that your leaders, if they are in that role, do what you can to help them to stay in that role and perhaps lighten the load a little bit. There you are. Now, there's going to be one more element to all of this. Everything that overarches everything that I've just mentioned. I'm going to go through the list again. The financial burden, the personnel and loyalty changes. That's a difficult one. The third one then, the modern distractions and time commitments. And fourth then was the leadership burnouts with all of that administrative overload. Yeah, don't let that happen. But there's one thing that overarches it all, and this one's going to be controversial. Again, this is a controversial pod this week. So hello, welcome to the Big Rab Show. I'm going to mention this, and a lot of people could potentially disagree with me. This is a double-edged sword. I want to talk about the debate about whether the World Pipe Band Championships, as it currently stands, is it harming the bagpiping world? Now, what I mean by that is, for a lot of people out there, the World Pipe Band Championships is absolutely the pinnacle of the art form. Its dominance is there as being the absolute... that's the golden goose. We want to win the Jubilee Trophy and banner, and that's all we have our focus on. All right? But to get there, to even be a part of that World Championships, the amount of pressure bands put themselves under to win that world title can often cause that band to just implode under the pressure. So what I mean by that, the harm that is being caused by the World Championships, can often outweigh the benefits. Now, we know what the benefits are of the World Championships. Obviously, bands are constantly wanting to improve and be better and be more perfect in every performance. And the World Championships is where you deliver your A game, you deliver that perfect performance, and then hopefully you don't get sent home on the bus with nothing. And for so many bands, that has been the case. A lot of bands go to the Worlds, they play their heart and soul and walk away with absolute bupkis. And then that journey back to the band hall again can be such a long journey. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've done it. Too many to mention. And each defeat, year in, year out, can be absolutely a bitter blow for a lot of people who have poured in so much of their finance, their own personal time, effort, and sacrifice to make it happen. It can be so heartbreaking to walk away from that circle with nothing. And it has happened so many times to so many musicians out there listening. Don't get me wrong, there is the time when lightning strikes and you walk into that circle and boom, you win the Worlds. It happens. And then what you find often is that band goes on from strength to strength. You know, they hit the ground running the next season and they're like, yes, we just won the big one. Woo, let's go next season. Right? Sometimes that happens. So the World Championships, when you look at it the way it sits currently, the World Championships can be seen as a positive, but also a huge negative as well. Now, not only that, can it be responsible for bands absolutely just burning out in the attempt to lift the big one, but also I'm going to mention the World Championships runs as one of the biggest in the calendar. And as a result, a lot of bands could potentially just ignore a lot of the minor competitions. A lot of the local competitions that would have happened around them in their local area where they would have been focused on before, well, potentially they could just ignore those and shoot for the top prize. They go, right, we're not going to play in the blah, blah, blah competition this weekend because that's just a minor. We're going to go for the big one. All right. We're going to focus all of our efforts on the Worlds. We're not going to attend any minors. That's it. Now, we've spoken about this before as well, that a lot of our major championships seems to be the focus, and where a lot of our minor competitions locally at a branch level can absolutely suffer as a result. Now, don't get me wrong, there is the way the calendar can be arranged. You can have a minor just before a major, and that has worked very well. A lot of bands see it as a practice run to get out for the weekend, to get a crit sheet, see where things are, and then they can hit the major the following week. That has worked quite well. So don't get me wrong, that has happened, that it has worked well. But there is the occasions where we have been mentioning it here on the show about the lack of grade 1, grade 2 action at minor competitions can be seen as those bands kind of ignoring their local scene to the detriment, I guess, but their focus is on major championships instead. And is that kind of, I don't know, kind of a side effect of the Worlds, isn't it? The Worlds is seen as the big one, so everyone shoots for the big one and ignores all the little ones. Yeah. Now, also, the World Championships could also be damaging the pipe band world because, well, we've spoke about this in many Fuse FM Ballymoney radio shows before. The stifling of musical creativity. Yeah. A lot of our judges in that circle can be seen as quite traditional in their viewpoint, where they are looking to see medleys that are pretty much piping by the numbers. You know, you start with some sort of a march or hornpipe, and then you go from there, you know. Slow air, finish with a jigger reel, whatever. You know, it's up to you. Bands nowadays are not doing that as much now, I don't feel. You know, just look at Inverary, of course, and their Dream Valley medley that really shook things up this year. But they stepped away with that top prize. And that medley had people talking about how different it was. You know, it was so unique to what everyone else was doing. So, yeah, will we see more of that this incoming season? Will we see more musical creativity in the circle? I'm definitely hopeful. But there will be those bands out there that will not want to take that musical leap and be fearful of what the judges might think, you know, and perhaps be more traditional in their viewpoint and play something more predictable, I guess, and safe, you know, from a judging point of view. This is what our judges would want to hear, so we're going to play it. Rather than playing something with really weird time signatures, really cool harmony lines, and perhaps a reprise or two here and there, you know, just throwing that in. But yeah, the World Championships has been pretty much piping by the numbers now for a few decades, with a few outliers and a few kind of woo moments going, wow, that was cool. And yeah, just last year, I think that was definitely one of those woo moments. So will we see more of it? I'm hopeful. But the World Championships has not really even encouraged bands to take musical risks. And when those risks get taken, they get talked about. Yeah. Moving on to one last thing about the World Championships. I did want to say about how much damage potentially it was doing to the scene, but I wanted to talk about how much positivity it is bringing to the scene. Let's face it, the World Championships is one of the biggest in the calendar. And as a result, it draws in all sorts of media attention and a lot of attention to those who are not normally associated with the bagpiping world. Yeah, I did speak about this at last year's World Championships. This was a very interesting dynamic where you've seen social media influencers walking around the World Championships making TikTok videos and like Instagram reels and going, hey guys, look at this weird thing. This is called a bagpipe. Wow. Right? Not joking, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, bringing the non-bagpiping world to a huge event like the World Championships, it absolutely is a massive showcase of what we can do. Putting our incredibly talented musicians on one of the biggest stages possible in front of all those cameras and the thousands of people watching, that's exactly what our scene needs. Big events like this and a showcase for our incredible music, absolutely. It can obviously be as a detriment, the more you dig into it, like I have been, But I do believe that there are a lot of positives also to glean from it. Yeah, the influence, of course, on a lot of non-piping people and to potentially lift the instrument for the first time. We're always talking about stories about people who have seen the World Championship live stream or actually attended the event because they were mates with someone who was playing, and then before you know it, they were in the circle as well. So, yeah, the World Championships is a massive advertising opportunity for non-piping fans to kind of get an idea of what we do. And will all those fans, potentially musicians, will they be in the circle as a result of what they've seen at the Worlds? Who knows? But that's an interesting debate right there. It is a double-edged sword, and I would love to know your opinions on what you believe the World Championships do or does for the piping scene. Do you think that the World Championships themselves could be responsible for pipe bands folding? Yeah. I'm just going to leave that there, folks. That is what we've seen to be some of the very key pressure points. And, I've been able to talk from experience on a good number of those. And I'm sure a lot of you listening right now have probably experienced some of those yourselves. Now, I have not mentioned names, bands, anything like that. And a lot of the examples I've provided are examples I have experienced firsthand myself. So I'm talking about me in those instances. Okay? I'm not talking about anyone else out there in case you're all going, oh, guess what Rab said on the pod this week? Yeah, nothing like that. So, thank you all for listening to another Big Rab Show podcast. That's another interesting topic in the can there. And this is, I don't know, if anyone out there has all the answers to this. How does a band overcome the personnel and loyalty challenges? How does a band overcome the financial burden, modern distractions, the pressures of the World Championships, leadership burnout, all of that kind of stuff? Yeah, how do you deal with all of that? Let me know. You can email me on bigrabshow@gmail.com, or of course you can reach us on Weekly Drone, and I'm sure we'll get some Weekly Drones this week. Yeah, thebigrabshow.com, big button at the top of the page, Weekly Drone. There you are. So yeah, keeping a band in the circle is a massive challenge. Please do not undersell that. If you are a band and you're in the circle right now, that's as good as a win, especially being through what we have went through with COVID and everything. I know it seems like a distant memory, but folks, believe it or not, we are still rebuilding after all of that madness. We're still kind of getting our steam back after all of it being taken away for 2 years. So, yeah, if your band is in there and you're playing tunes, that's as good as a win right there. So keep playing is my advice. And, do consider what the future might hold for your pipe band and what you can do to actually keep it in the circle. Perhaps there do need to be some difficult conversations had to say, well, if X happens, well, where are ABC after that? Yeah. And you need to be open to some of these difficult conversations behind the scenes as to what makes players tick. Why are you here? Why do you want to play with us? And if we don't win the Jubilee Trophy and banner, well, is that it? You're going to pull the plug and walk and go somewhere else? Or what's the crack? You need to have these difficult conversations, folks. It's better to have them out there in the open than to have them behind the scenes and festering, and then on the backseat of a bus someone, hey, you're nothing but a... Yeah, don't let that happen. Well, folks, that's it. I'm very glad I have my bleep machine handy today. Yeah, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thank you all for listening, as always. And don't forget, you can email us in your thoughts and opinions. bigrabshow@gmail.com. I dare say we'll be revisiting this topic again on a future show. You know, that's just a very short list, but it is not exhaustive. There's so many other challenges out there to pipe bands, honestly. To keep them on the grass, keep them active, playing. Yeah, I don't know. The 21st century is a very challenging place for pipe bands, and it's all we can do to keep the tradition alive. So, yeah, we're here for you. We're doing our best to keep the wheel turning, and we'll be back again next week for another Big Rab Show podcast, where no doubt we'll revisit this topic in a future show. All right, folks, I am out the door. Wishing you all a very happy St. Patrick's Day, because I won't be talking to you until after it next week. So if you are out and about playing at St. Patrick's Day gigs, then do send us in hashtag Big Rab Show selfies, and we'll do our best to share them out there. Have a good St. Patrick's Day weekend, and we'll see you all on the other side of it. Until next week, all the best.
Well, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thanks so much for downloading this week, and a special thank you to our sponsor, G1 Reeds. Played by bands around the world, they are the champion's choice. Check out g1reeds.com for all of your piping needs. Don't forget to check out thebigrabshow.com to be kept up to date with all of the latest news and views from around the piping world. And also, check us out on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your hands on tons of extra piping goodness and be a part of the Patreon faithful. So, until next week, folks, we'll see you right here on the Big Rab Show podcast. All the best.